test.
What?
You got selective hearing. There we go. Welcome to the February 18th meeting. We have two former mayors out there, a long tenure, very successful. I feel stressed tonight. I feel stressed. Here, throw it at me when I get out of line. We'll start with a pledge. Rachel?
Oh, nothing for you.
We have someone from the... Oh,
Yep.
okay. let's
I
do
will,
it.
look, that's okay, stay standing. It'll be short and sweet, how's that?
Yeah.
Father, thank you for another beautiful day, and Rolla, Lord, we just thank you for all the blessings and the things that you do for us. Thank you for our leaders and the time that they invest in our community, Lord. I just pray that you just bless them, bless this meeting. Fill this meeting with your very presence. We ask that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no public hearings tonight, but we have three special presentations. The first is the fourth quarter and the 2019 year-end tourism reports. Before you start, Stevie, I want to wish the Chamber happy birthday. For those who don't know, February 12th. February 12th was the 100th anniversary. And when you think about how many people and how many hours gave of their time to your organization and the community, it's just awesome. And you're very vibrant today. I think with over 500 members, you maybe
Yes.
at one of your highest membership levels.
You're right.
So it's terrific.
Thank
Happy
you so
birthday.
much. Appreciate that. Thank you. On there. Okay, so again, everybody, I am Stevie Kearse, the Executive Director for the Rolla Area Chamber of Commerce. And tonight we are going to be presenting the 2019 year-end tourism report. So tonight's presentation is going to be just a little bit longer than the normal presentations that you guys do receive from us because this is our year-end. And it's going to cover fourth quarter activities, year-end 2019 budget numbers, but we're also going to be presenting our 2020 tourism marketing plan. So a lot of information to cover tonight. Of course, the detailed packet or detailed information is in your packets. I'm going to go over a lot of it tonight though, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to kick this off with the Motel Tax revenues for 2019. So just in case you are not already familiar with Motel Tax, if you do stay in a Rolla motel, you're going to pay a 3% lodging tax. That's in addition to your sales tax. Lodging tax is very common in so many communities. Any community that has a hotel is going to have probably a lodging tax. However, every community is designed a little bit differently. So if you stay in a Rolla hotel, you'll pay a 3% tax. The city collects the tax. The city keeps 10% of that tax and remits 90% back to the Chamber of Commerce for our tourism efforts that are outlined in the contract that we have with the city that you guys approved in December. The great thing about a lodging tax is citizens don't pay that tax. It is usually visitors. So unless you're, for some reason, put out of your home and staying in a Rolla hotel, local citizens are not going to pay that. So this first chart that we're going to be looking at tonight covers the 2019 motel tax as a whole. So you're going to see each quarter what was brought in. Now again, this only reflects the 90% that we receive at our office. So you'll see each quarter, and then you'll see where we ended the year compared to what we had budgeted. So we budgeted motel tax income of $300,000. We ended the year with $316,527. So 2019 was a good year. Now, did that advance? Okay, we are going to, I think I skipped a slide. There we go. Okay, this next slide is going to be a 5-year recap of motel tax revenues. What you're going to see a lot of at this year-end report is a 5-year snapshot, so you can kind of see if there's any trends happening. So Motel Tax year-end revenues from 2015 to 2019, you can see a steady climb, unfortunately, until we hit 2019. We were at $23,000 below 2018. However, that was not a surprise to us. In fact, we were pretty excited to see $316,000. So we do track the motel tax each month as it comes in, and our board discusses it, so we do watch it throughout the year. Some of the factors that play into the $23,000 decline from 2018 are the fact that we did lose a hotel. We lost Days Inn in November of 2017. Also, 2018, we did receive a lot of hotel stays from construction crews. We had a lot of construction projects happening in 2018. Rolla West, Highway 72, numerous others. So you didn't see as many construction crews staying at the hotels during 2019. Also, another event that we did lose in Rolla was Project Lead the Way. That did generate several hundred hotel rooms for us over the summer months. That is still an event, but it is in Lee's Summit. We do not host that here in Rolla any longer, or hopefully it'll come back. But as of right now, it's not in Rolla, so that was a decline. That was a hit to our motel tax income as well. Licking summer camps, hopefully everybody's familiar with that, is a huge impact to our community during the summer months. A lot of students are coming here for basketball and volleyball camps. Their families are attending with them. They definitely do still stay in hotels, but they are also utilizing dorm rooms more. If a student or family is staying in a dorm room, they're not paying a motel tax. So that's going to hit us too. This one is what really got me. I knew that there were Airbnbs in Rolla, but I had no idea that there were 47. So if you stay in an Airbnb, you're not paying the lodging tax. I don't know why. I wish that they were, and maybe that we'll see that change. That is not just for Rolla. I mean, that's nationwide. If you stay in an Airbnb anywhere, you're not going to be paying their community's lodging tax, unless there's something I don't know about. But anyways, you got 47 in the area. They range from $25 to $250 a night. So if somebody chooses to stay in that, that's definitely going to affect us. Now, however, 2020, different story. We have a new hotel coming in. So it's a really nice hotel, and I look for us to, hopefully we will see some growth. But again, we'll be tracking that. We will be reporting to you throughout the year, so we'll kind of watch that together. So now we're going to talk some expenses. So in your packet on page 3, you guys have all of the detailed information. So our budget is all on there. You have every single line item that affects the tourism budget. You have the budgeted figure. You have every quarter what happened during that quarter and our year end. This next chart that I have, it just comprises all of that into 4 different categories: buildings and grounds, operating expenses, payroll, and then some miscellaneous stuff that didn't really fit into another category. So you can see that we were pretty much in line with our budget. We did not have any major surprises during 2019. It was a good year. So now the next slide, we are tracking here income versus expenses for the past 5 years. You can see that motel tax income has way exceeded our expenses in most of the years. Now 2019 and 2015 are kind of similar to each other. We went over income by about $4,000, so dipped into our reserves just a little bit, but that's why you have them. So now let's talk marketing efforts. Now these next items I'm going to cover are just for October, November, and December. So we're going to cover events and projects that we are working on in our office. So this Romo Proud, this is something we are working on with the Rolla Downtown Business Association. This is not the final product, but this is what our latest development was. This is going to be a flat Stanley promotion, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with what flat Stanleys are. We're going to call ours Roaming Romo, and of course Romo stands for Rolla, Missouri. So the whole idea is to create these roaming Romos and they'll be available for you to pick up at local businesses, especially in the downtown area. And then you can take them in your travels, and you're going to take a picture with your roaming Romo. Or when you fly to Egypt, you're going to put your roaming Romo up against a pyramid. I know you will. And you'll snap a photo, and you're going to post it on social media with hashtag RomoProud. So we will be tracking that hashtag, and we'll see what photos appear. We will be using hashtag RomoProud in our tourism promotions as well. So you'll see a lot of that. You can track along with us. Another project that we worked on was the official Rolla Phelps County map. So the Rolla Chamber of Commerce does develop the official, the one and only Rolla Phelps County map. Unfortunately, there are other companies that come into our community that do sell ads on not so nice maps. Whenever we find out about these, we do try to warn the community that that is not the official map. Do not waste your money. We do work with Spring Hill Press. This map is approved by the city, and it's also approved by the county, so all of the roads inside are current and accurate. We print this map about every 2 years or so, and we do hand it out at the visitor center. We also bring them to City Hall for distribution. Phelps County Courthouse, they're in all of the local hotels, the realtors have them. So during the fourth quarter, once we received the new brochures, we did, drive them around town and deliver them to everybody that needs them. If anybody else would like to have them at their place of business, their organization, maybe at your church, you're more than welcome to have a supply of those maps. Just contact us and we can bring them to you, or you can come by and grab some. Super excited about the great race that's going to be coming to Rolla in June of this year. So, of course, you're going, okay, Stevie, this is the fourth quarter 2019 report. Why are you talking about June of 2020? Well, with any event, it takes a lot of lead time to make it happen. They don't happen overnight. So our tourism director, Amy Campbell, has been working with the Great Race organizers on their route for 2020, and they are excited to come back to Rolla. If you recall, we did host them in 2015 as well. So they were downtown on Pine Street in 2015. However, the route has changed for the race this year. They'll be coming in on Highway 72. We are talking about hosting them to their lunch stop at Detropolis. So really excited about that opportunity to showcase Benton Square. All of the cars, once they come in, they will be parked in the parking lots. They'll be on display, and we'll have a little local festival so people can come and look at the cars, meet the drivers. Of course, we will have some local vintage cars on display as well. Again, a little mini festival. Now, unfortunately, June 23rd is on a Tuesday, where the last time they stopped it was on a weekend. However, it is the summer. Hopefully, people will still come out and celebrate the great race. And we're hoping people will cheer them on as they come in and then cheer them on as they leave town too. So it's going to be a really fun event. So stay tuned for more details, because we'd love to have all of you guys come down and join us for the festival. Okay, so this is a snapshot of vs.Budget.com. I hope that all of you are very familiar with our tourism website. As you can see, there's a lot of information on vs.Budget.com. We love our tourism website. It features all the things that you can do in the Rolla area, whether you're just here for the day or you're staying for a while. So places to spend the night, some shopping, dining, meeting facilities if you're going to have a meeting, caterers, everything that you can do in Rolla. One of my favorite assets to this site is the calendar of events. So we work really hard in the office to make sure that all community events are listed on vs.Budget.com. Now, it needs to be a community event. We're not going to put your yard sale on the calendar of events. It needs to be something that the community is invited to come to. We do list events for all of Phelps County, so not just for Rolla. So there's a lot of St. James events on there as well. Anywhere in Phelps County. However, we have had the same look to vs.Budget.com for several years. It's getting an update. So we have been working with our web designer to give it a fresh look. It's still going to be extremely beautiful, but it's going to have a lot more detailed information for all of these places that are listed within the site. A lot of photos. We're going to link to their pages as well, maybe some social media stuff. We've already had a look at what the site is looking like, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's still going to have all of the same features that we love. It's just going to be better. So looking forward to that. Super excited during the fourth quarter to be bringing on to staff Miss Bailey Barnes. Bailey is actually with us here tonight, and if you have not had the chance to meet Bailey, I extend an invitation to you to come and visit with her. Bailey is the first person you see when you walk into the visitor center. She's mostly the first person that you talk to if you call our office. She attends some of our events, and she's just been a wonderful addition to our staff. We love her energy, and so I hope you guys get the opportunity to get to know her. This next program I'm going to talk about is Give Christmas. I think you guys are familiar with this. I might have talked about this the last time I was at council. Give Christmas is something that we host each year, and it provides Christmas presents to children in our community. Christmas presents, that's all that they're going to get for Christmas. So our program this year did have more than 100 children in need, and I have to say it was extremely moving with the outpouring of generosity from the Rolla community. It was very touching. The people that were coming in and the donations that they were making, it was seriously a toy explosion at the visitor center. The area to the right when you walk into the visitor center was full of toys. We had companies that had their own toy drives that brought in so many toys for the angels. And then we had people, of course, that cannot do shopping, that, it's a hectic time of year. They've got a lot going on. So they made monetary donations. And I'm excited to announce that we were able to provide Christmas presents for all of the children that were represented by the angels for our Give Christmas program. So if any of you did contribute to that program, we greatly thank you for your generosity. Okay, if you know Rolla, you know St. Pat's. And again, I know this does not happen until March the 14th, but events take time to plan. So we had been working during the fourth quarter of 2019 to make the best ever St. Pat's 5K and beer run. So for all of you people that like to run, walk, or just leisurely stroll, we don't mind. You're welcome to partake in the 5K or the beer run. So the 5K will kick off on the freshly painted green streets of Pine at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, March the 14th. And it will race around town and finish back over at Public House. St. Pat himself will be there to award the medals and take pictures with the winners, or whoever wants to take a picture. Then we will get all ready for the beer run. Now, this is not your typical beer run. We are featuring Public House Brewing Company beer. They are the main sponsor for the beer run. So we have some really delicious beer for that event. Now, whenever that is finished, we do hustle, clean everything up because it's time to line up the St. Pat's Parade. Parade starts at 11 o'clock, and as you guys all know, there's tons of people in the St. Pat's Parade. We will actually be in the parade this year, so we're excited about that. We're not always in the parade, but when we are, it's 2020. Okay, so now we're going to cover different marketing efforts that include radio, social media, text alerts, billboards, e-newsletters, and print. That's a mouthful. Okay, so let's start with radio. We are regularly on the Morning Mayor Show. Every Wednesday morning, you will get to hear me and or Amy and sometime Tasia on Morning Mayors. Hopefully everybody listens to the Morning Mayor Show. If not, it is 99.7 FM. Please tune in. It's a very popular station. In fact, a lot of advertisers talk about how they get a lot of feedback from the listeners. We do the same. I swear, every time we are on the Morning Mayor Show, we hear from people, oh, I heard you on the radio this morning. So it has a great audience. So whenever we're on there, we're talking about tourism events, tourism attractions, tourism businesses in the area, and what have you. So again, every Wednesday on the Morning Mayor. Tune in. And now we're going to talk social media. So social media is a wonderful way to get your message out at little to no cost. You guys know this. So the Visit Rolla has a Facebook page and an Instagram page. This is a snapshot of some of the posts that we had during the fourth quarter of 2019. Popular things that are happening during that time. Of course, you've got your fall festivals. Everybody needs to go out to the pumpkin patch. Not every community has one, so this definitely attracts a lot of visitors. Rolla is an extremely active community. There's a lot of 5Ks. During this time, we had the hospital's Superhero 5K, but also honoring our Heroes Marathon, which is a 5K, 10K, half, and full marathon that brings in a lot of visitors to the area that not only participate, but also volunteer with the event. So our Visit Rolla Facebook page ended 2019 with 2,567 followers. And I did a little update today. I checked and we're up an additional 91 followers. We currently have 2,658 followers on Visit Rolla's Facebook page. If you don't like us, please go like us so you can stay connected with what is happening in the world of tourism in Rolla. Also, on page 9 of your packet, I did provide a look at the activity on our Facebook page for 2019. So you'll see it's broken down in each month. You will see that we had 171 posts on our Facebook page. We did reach 103,981 people with those posts. We engaged. Now, an engagement is considered any likes, loves, laughs, those types of things, and comments on Facebook. 6,366 engagements. We had 429 post shares, and we boosted 7 of those ads. So we did not do a lot of paid advertising, but we did do some. And I will tell you that the most interacted posts are going to be videos. So here's a snapshot of a couple of videos that we post on our social media pages. These are ones that we posted during the fourth quarter specifically, but people like video. Of course, an image is an image, and it does give you a glimpse of what's happening at the event or whatever it is that you're promoting, but a video gives you more in-depth information. Our videos do have a song that plays over them, a royalty-free song, I will add, but you don't have to listen to the music. And that's the great thing about the videos on social media. You can read the text that's scrolling across because let's face it, we've all looked at Facebook while we're at a meeting, and we should be paying attention to the speaker, but you do it. You know you do it. So you won't get busted.
Look at all, Stevie. You're looking at the wrong person. Don't look at me.
Stevie,
Yeah.
I'm in complete ignorance. What's a boost?
It is a paid advertisement, basically. So you made your post on Facebook and you want to boost it, so you can pay to push it out in front of a specific audience. And that is the great thing. So I'm going to take, for an example, our St. Pat's 5K. So if we were, which we are, boosting that, you could say, I want an audience that's already interested in 5Ks, and I want my audience to be men and women of this certain age range. Or if you were having a kid run, maybe you're going to push the teen group or something like that. And then you can pick the location too, outside of a 50-mile radius, whatever it happens to be. So that's what it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So these posts are also on our Instagram page. Of course, Instagram and Facebook are similar, but they're different. You have different audiences on both. They're there for different reasons. I will say Instagram is continuing to grow. People have been on Facebook for years. They're just now kind of finding out about Instagram. So we have had an Instagram page since February of 2018. But it's really starting to kick in with people. We're getting more and more followers all of the time. So we ended 2019 with 574 followers, but I checked again today. We added 21 additional followers. We're at 595. So if you are on Instagram, please go follow Visit Rolla. So also in your packet, page 10, I did give you a glimpse of our activity on Instagram for 2019. The information that you receive from Instagram is a little bit different than Facebook. So I was able to track our posts, our likes, and our comments. So we had 31 posts in 2019. We had 824 likes and 9 comments. And like I said, it's kind of started out a little slow on Instagram, but it's growing fast. Also for social media, we are admins on the Explore the Fort Facebook page. So this is a fairly new Facebook page that has 650 followers. The purpose of this is for the communities outside of Fort Leonard Wood to post what's happening in their communities so the families stationed at Fort Leonard Wood can explore the communities that surround them. Their home might be Fort Leonard Wood, but really their home is all of our communities. So we are admins, like I said, on this Facebook page, and we do post these types of things on that page. So people, anyone that follows that page, whether you're at Fort Leonard Wood or not, you can see what's happening in the Rolla community. Moving on to text alerts. This is a new campaign for us that we started in February of 2019. If you are not receiving our text alerts, please text the word Rolla to 57838. You will be sent immediately a confirmation request to say, yes, I do want to subscribe to text alerts. Again, we will not bombard your cell phones. We send about 1 or 2 a week text messages. It depends on what's happening in Rolla. How many events are happening? That's what we're going to push out there. We'd like to save it around closer to the weekend. A lot of times there's multiple events happening in Rolla on a weekend. So we'll put some teasers on the text message, and then we're driving traffic to vs.Rolla.com so you can get the full detail. Again, we have 111 subscribers. Actually I checked today and we have 113. So again, if you're not getting those, please do so. Let's talk billboards. So I-44, lots of traffic. We've had 2 billboards on I-44. One faces eastbound, one faces westbound traffic. We've had them forever. They definitely work. They drive a lot of traffic to the visitor center, exit 184. However, people that are not stopping or that quick glance up, because you only have about 5 to 10 seconds to read a billboard. It's not a lot of time. That's why there's not a lot of text. But you could see vs.Rolla.com. So hopefully people are hearing that. It's an easy website to remember, and you can go back to it. We put some teasers up here with our pretty pictures that highlight Rolla. So you have the arts, you have the riverways, you have celebrations and events that happen. So it's fun, it's eye-catching, and we just rewrapped this at the beginning of 2019, end of 2018. We usually rewrap every 2 years or so. So we kind of mimicked that image of our billboard onto our e-newsletter. So our e-newsletter is called The Source because it is your source for tourism information. This comes out typically around the 1st of every single month, and it's going to have a bunch of articles gearing towards tourism-related events, efforts, and businesses. If there's events that are happening that month, we list them and link them so you can go to their Facebook pages if they have a Facebook event or their websites. Whatever, we have links to vs.Rolla.com as well on there. Anyone can subscribe to receive vs.Rolla.com no matter where you are in the world. Go to vs.Rolla.com, click on at the top right corner, click on subscribe to newsletter, and you'll start receiving the newsletter every month. Okay, moving on to print. Okay, so with print media, we're trying to reach as many people as possible with all of our advertising efforts. So a couple of publications that we like to advertise in are Missouri Life and Show Me Missouri. During the 4th quarter, we advertised in the September, October, November issues of Missouri Life and the winter issue of Show Me Missouri magazine. This is a sampling of the ad campaign that we have. So you'll see that it has a really eye-catching photo, local photos if we have some, a message about what's happening during that time frame, and then driving traffic back to vs.Rolla.com. Again, our message is going to change. It depends on the time of year, what is happening in Rolla, what is the theme of the magazine that month. Maybe they're pushing theater. So we have theater. We're going to talk theater. Maybe they're pushing festivals. We got that. Maybe summer fun. We got that too. So it depends on what the magazine is talking about. If it's just a general whatever, then we're going to talk about what's happening in Rolla, obviously. So again, I really like the look of our ads. I think Amy does a great job with designing those. They're very eye-catching. Again, driving traffic back to vs.Rolla.com. Okay, so grants. Rolla Chamber of Commerce has grants for people. So we have 2 grant programs, Tourism Partnership Grant and the Sports Tourism Grant. They're both funded through the Motel Tax dollars. The purpose of these grants is to attract visitors from outside of a 50-mile radius and encourage overnight stays. Funds are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis, so we have a budgeted amount. Once it has been all awarded, we are done for the year unless the board wants to go over budget, which that is their prerogative. So, grant funds can be used for any aspect of the event of which they are funded for, but both grants are reimbursement grants. So, no funds are distributed until the awardee submits a final report. That way we know that the event happened, we have some stats from that event, and then we'll present the money to them. Always, with all of our grant recipients, we encourage them to use our vs.Rolla.com logo, and if they can drive traffic to our website, they will do so as well. So now I'm going to talk about the grants that were awarded just during the fourth quarter of 2019. So we had awarded $1,000 in our Tourism Partnership Grant. So that's for events and meetings and those types of things. Tourism Partnership Grant, events and meetings. So $1,000 was awarded to the Rolla Sister City Committee for the 2019 Chris Kendall Market and Lichternaut. Then we had 3 sports grants that were awarded, and that's exactly what they are. They go to sporting events. So sporting events get more funding because they usually cost more to put on, but they also usually bring a lot of people in. So $250 was awarded to Split Second Timing for the 2019 Galloping Gobbler 5K 10K. $5,000 was awarded to Missouri S&T's Track and Field program because they are going to be hosting a conference April 30th through May 2nd that is going to be bringing thousands of people to the Rolla area. They will be booking a lot of hotel rooms. We are working with them on other aspects of their conference as well, not just awarding them with grant dollars. You might wonder, okay, you said 2019, but it's for the 2020 budget, but it was approved by our board in 2019. That's why it's on here. Missouri Conservation Heritage Foundation was awarded $1,000 for their 2020 archery competition that was for 4th grade to 12th graders, and that was held actually February 1st, so we should be receiving their report here pretty soon to find out how that went. So for tourism partnership grants for 2019, we funded $11,250. Sporting events was sports grants, was $26,500. In case you're wondering, how do people get approved for grants? So they do have to contact our office to get the grant application. It's not available online because we like to have that conversation with them. What's happening with your event? How can we help? Can we help besides just grant dollars? We want to know what's happening with your events. So they meet with us, we give them the grant application. It does come back to our office. We have a separate committee that reviews that application. There is, a review process that determines, do they meet the criteria for the grant and which level? How much funding do they get? So once the committee approves it for funding in whatever amount, then it goes to our board of directors for final approval from there. Okay. Oh, this is a snapshot of the grants. You could see that 70% was for sports grants. So, but I already told you those amounts. So now we're going to talk land and building issues, and that'll be the last thing we talk about before we get into the benchmarks. So, in case you are not aware, you are aware that we receive motel tax dollars to promote tourism. But first and foremost, we are tasked with operating the visitor center and maintaining the nearly 10-acre tract of land that the visitor center sits on, along with 5 historic buildings. So our historic buildings were built in the 30s by the CCC. They were originally Mark Twain National Forest headquarters. Again, we have 5 buildings, and anytime you have to maintain a historic building, it's not cheap. So that is first and foremost of what happens with the motel tax dollars. This past fourth quarter of 2019, we had to replace 5 roofs. That's not cheap. It cost $23,000. We also replaced the visitor center roof 2 years ago, which was about little over $11,000 for the visitor center's roof. So, these buildings are on the historic registry. So everything that you do to these buildings has to be approved, and the property actually has to be approved by the State Historic Preservation Office. So they did approve the roof replacement, but we did have to take pictures before, during, and after, which I did, and all of those photos were submitted to SHPO's office for record-keeping purposes, as well as the city. You could see that crew that worked on the roof was a group of hard workers, because I've never seen a roofing company not let snow stop them. There was no getting in their way. They scraped that snow off the roof and took care of business. They got those roofs done lickety-split in no time, just a couple of days' work, and cleaned it all up, and they did a great job. So we're very pleased with all of that. Okay, now we're gonna dive into benchmarks. So again, benchmarks are extremely important. These benchmarks that I'm gonna cover were agreed upon by both the city and the chamber during our contract discussions. And again, I only present benchmarks at the end of the year. You guys don't hear those during our regular quarterly updates. It's only at the end of the year. And I know that some of the information we're going to cover was previously asked by council, and I'm happy to answer those at any time, but just know you get the full picture at the end of the year. Because like I said previously, we do report a lot of these are going to be a 5-year snapshot, so you could kind of see a trend. So you get the best view at the end of the year. We're going to start with, we have a lot of things to discuss: motel tax, sales tax, visitor center traffic, website traffic, tourism grant impact, motel hotel occupancy, average daily rate, advertising outline, all of that kind of stuff. So let's get into the motel tax performance. So here is the snapshot of the 90% that the Chamber of Commerce receives out of the 3% tax that is paid. From 2015 to 2019, you can see the steady climb that we talked about for the income. Till 2019, a slight drop, but still holding strong. And where we budgeted. Our board always budgets conservatively for income. And we budgeted super conservatively for several years, and we finally bumped it up in 2019. So I'm really glad that we came in over that budget, because we finally decided to bump it up, but it came in good. Now we're going to talk lodging performance. So we track this information from 2 different sources: Smith Travel Research, or I'm going to call that STAR for short, and the City of Rolla. So STAR is a service that we pay for, and this is a service that chain hotels report their figures to. It's a trusted source of the reported information because the hotels use that information to track their own performance and compare it to their competitors. So they're reporting to STAR very, very accurately. STAR provides the information reported from our local hotels. However, we don't get to see the names. We just see property 1, 2, 3, that kind of thing. We don't know which hotel's reporting what. They also provide information for the state as a whole, so we can compare that as well. And then we do receive information from the City of Rolla, from what the local hotels are reporting to them. So we take all of that and we compare them to each other. That gives us this. So we're going to start with the average daily rate. So the rate, how much does it cost to stay in a Rolla hotel? So this first grouping on your far left is what is gathered from the City of Rolla, what the local hotels are reporting to the city. So that's that. And you can see my years are 2014 to 2018 because we didn't have 2019 available yet. So I'm still giving you that time span. Then this middle cluster is Missouri. That's the state's average as a whole. So you can see that it costs about $100 on average to stay in a hotel in Missouri. Well, STAR is telling us that Rolla hotels are about $93. So we're below the state average. So I would say that's great. You can find an affordable hotel room in Rolla. No sense to go down the road. Just stay right here with us. And then next we're going to talk about the occupancy percentage. So how much are our hotels being used? So again, the same reporting parties, and you can see that the state's occupancy percentage is 59%. Rolla's is 57% according to Star, so that's really good. We're right in line. We're not drastically low. We're still performing very strong. Next, we're going to talk website, vs.Rolla.com. So we do use Google Analytics to track the traffic to our website. And vs.Rolla.com is a really popular site. However, you will see a little bit of a decline this year in visitors to vs.Rolla.com. This chart tracks visitors compared to new visitors. Again, all this comes from Google Analytics, from people that are way smarter than I am. I can tell you that it tracks through using IP addresses and cookies. So they're tracking your IP address when you go to vs.Rolla.com. If you clear your cookies, you guys have probably done that before. You're having problems, you clear cookies. I've done that on my phone before. Then you go back to the website, you're considered a new user. So, is that really that accurate? I'm not really a new user. I'm on the site all the time. But that's how they track it. But our traffic to vs.Rolla.com is still very strong. A lot of people are going to Facebook and social media. I am totally guilty of that. If I'm looking at a business and I want to see their hours, I will search them on Facebook. It's all right there. Plus, on Facebook or Instagram even, you get an immediate look at what's happening in that business. Are they having some discounts and sales and specials today going on where you don't always get that on their website? Websites are extremely important. A lot of good information is still on your website. You still have to have them. But I think more and more people are using social media and not diving into the website as much. Page views, you can see that's also a little bit down, but that's going to be common if the visitors to your site are down. And we're going to talk visitor center performance. So we do track this in-house. We have a guest list for people to sign in as they come into the visitor center, but not everybody does that. So we do track every person that comes into the visitor center ourselves, and any information that they take along the way. We track all the brochures that get handed out at the visitor center. But on the sign-in sheet, if you come in, it does ask if you're a first-time visitor to Rolla. So we are tracking that. So you can see that we have had less people in 2019 than 2018 at the visitor center. But again, a lot of people use social media. They're on their phones. They're guiding their tours through your town on their phone. That's why it's really important to have a good website and good social media presence. So have had less traffic at the visitor center, but that's okay. The people that come in always compliment our facilities, and they always compliment Rolla. We do get a lot of repeat visitors to the visitor center. Once people come to Rolla, they fall in love. It becomes their home just as much as it is our home, and they always want to stop. So moving on to our tourism grant program that we've already talked quite a bit about. This next slide shows a 5-year time span. You can see how many tourism partnership grants were awarded and how many sports tourism grants were awarded. And you can see sports is always going to be higher because it's typically awarded at a higher level anyway. Also in your packet, page 21, I did provide a lot of detail for the grants for 2019. You can see every single person that received a grant from us. So we awarded 17 grants as a whole. 8 were sports, 9 were tourism partnership grants. But the key thing to look at here is the participants for those events. 42,801 people participated in the events that were awarded grant funds. Those participants booked 2,201 room nights. Pretty impressive. Now, at the time of the report, there was one grant recipient that we had not received their final report from, but still very impressive numbers. Now, this last slide that I'm going to show is the gross retail sales. Now, this is going to include I received this from the city of Rolla. You've probably seen this already. It includes everything that is subject to sales tax. The reason we are showing this slide during our benchmarks is to track trend. If we had an upswing and a lot of things happening, did it result in a lot of sales tax? So you can see 2019 was up quite a bit from 2018, $24 million. So that's really good. I would like to have that. So. And that is the end of that report. And now we're going to go into the marketing plan. Okay, you guys.
Stevie, let's take a,
Uh-huh.
you need
Sure.
to catch your breath, I'm sure.
Have you met me?
All I know is
Okay.
Rodney got a tough act to follow.
I know. Sorry, Rodney.
Any questions from council? Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, so just a couple of things for clarification.
Uh-huh.
The new website design, ADA, it will be ADA compliant, yes?
I'm assuming so. I can let you know. I mean, we are working with an amazing web designer. She has done our current vs.Budget.com site and also our chamber websites. So I'm sure that she is good with that,
I'm sure.
but I'll double check and just confirm it.
Okay, and then another question. The boosting, are you boosting organic content or paid ads? Or how much paid advertising, I guess?
Okay, usually when we boost something, it's going to be, I guess, more of an organic post. It's going to be something like, okay, let me use the same example I used for St. Pat's 5K.
Yeah.
It's coming up. We want to make sure, we're approaching a deadline. We want to make sure a lot of people get registered. So we're going to have the logo, the details, the link to register. We're going to boost that. So we're going to push that out there more so it gets in front of people more so they can register for the event.
So you boost the content, you don't necessarily do paid
We
ads.
do both.
Okay.
We do both. So I can start tracking that for 2020, paid ads that we do. Because I don't have that like off the top of my head.
Understood.
And our sites, our Facebook is also connected to Instagram. So I know we recently did a paid ad on Facebook, and I was noticing it on my Instagram feed. So I know that they're connected, and we will work on tracking that more. I'll add that column for 2020. So
Oh, 'cause
we'll
I'm sure
have
that'll
all of
be
that.
great for the St. Pat's run. And then a quick question here, or kind of a in the future maybe. Could you also calculate engagement rates for us? Because engagement rates on the social media,
Okay.
sort of likes, comments over number of ads divided by the number of users. So how often are users interacting with individual ads? I mean,
More than what I have on page 9, because I do have the number of posts that have reached
Yeah.
for the whole month.
yeah.
Because, I mean, there was one month we had 32 posts. I mean, I can provide details for every single post, but that's gonna be a lot.
More like per month.
That's what's on page 9 here. So I have like March, we had 32 posts. The whole month as a whole, we reached 20,223 users. We engaged. Engagements is going to be your likes and comments. We had 1,536. We had 162 post shares. Now, we didn't do any boosts that month. I don't know if we did any paid ads. I'll add that column for 2020. But are you saying more than what that is?
Well, I noticed the engagement statistics there, and I know that's what Facebook provides. But like, for instance, there's not one for Instagram and YouTube?
No, actually, yeah. If you know where you can find that information, I'll be happy to let you show me where that is. Because whenever I went onto our Instagram page and went into our analytics for the whole program, all I'm able to see is posts, likes, and comments. I don't see anything else.
Oh, they don't provide it, but you can calculate it, right? If you just...
You and I need to get together and you can teach me how.
Yeah, no problem. Because I calculated the overall rate for the year, and it was a 4.6 engagement rate, which 1 to 3 is good. So I was like, if you're doing a great job, I want to learn about that.
Yeah, good. And like I said, Instagram is still new for us. We've had Facebook for years. Instagram is new, and we're seeing it grow. We all constantly getting a lot of new followers on Instagram. I also see a lot of new people joining Instagram because I have my own personal page too. And you see people you may know. So I think as more people get on Instagram, we're going to see a boost in that too.
And different populations, right? If you're looking for those day trippers looking for 5K.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
David?
I had a quick question. I saw what you said about the Airbnb not being collected. as a member of the Airbnb community, I'm actually in full support of having that collected. So I was actually curious if you happen to know what the city or county needs to do to kind of level that playing field for hotels. Is there something that you know?
I
that
would assume that we'd have to take it to legislation.
That's a state issue, because I know Dr.
Yeah.
Fredericks pushed for that really hard at Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
But I thought it passed. I was a little surprised to hear you say it didn't pass.
No, it's
Well,
passing
and I
is
don't know.
the inability for cities to impose a tax on it.
Okay.
And there's another bill filed this year to more emphatically deny local government the ability to tax it. So still considered an emerging market. It may change, you never know, but yeah.
Yeah, and I was saying earlier before council started, I'm kind of surprised. We do attend tourism conferences for the state, you know, and I'm surprised that that hasn't come up as more of a discussion, but yeah, I mean, it would be really nice. It would level that out a lot more, so.
Stevie, I have a question on foot traffic to the visitor center. The significant decline over 4 years.
Yes. Now
I'm not
that's
so sure that's a relevant number, so I'm going to defer to you. Is there any relevancy, the fact that you're having less come to the front door? And then the second question is, does any of that have to do with the road configuration and the construction that occurred over there? I know RD can't get around the
I mean, I would
circles too
just
much.
be assuming that with the construction, that it's less traffic for us, but I have noticed less. But, I mean, when people do come into the visitor center, they still are kind of confused on how to leave. And, 'cause if you're familiar, yeah, you have to say. If you are familiar with our property, when you're at the visitor center, I'm standing at the front door facing Tater Patch. So if you're coming from the roundabouts, you can pull into that road between us and Tater Patch. You can't leave that way. You can enter, but you can never leave. You have to leave out the right side, the new exit that was put into the parking lot, and then veer around to the stoplight. You guys know this because you drive it. But visitors that come in, they come in off of the roundabouts, they're like, how do we get back over there? So we're showing them. It seems easy to me because I drive it, but it is confusing.
Is there any significance that we have less going to the front door?
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
Because
I'm
we still have
struggling with
people-
how relevant this metric is anymore.
I think that traffic is low at visitor centers, period. A lot of information is online. You're researching your destinations before you go. A lot of the people that stop in, as much as they love our facility, they're pit stopping. They're grabbing a cup of coffee. They're talking to our staff, asking directions for the rest of their trip, going to the bathroom. It's a pit stop. And our facility is super clean, whereas you don't know what you're going to get at a gas station that you're not familiar with. So I don't think that having less traffic means that, I don't think it's an impact at all. We still have a lot of people that utilize us, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. People are still coming to Rolla. Rolla is still very successful. So I don't think that is a chart to dwell on.
Okay. Any other questions before we go to the marketing plan?
All right. Okay. We're going to talk marketing for 2020. Okay, it's in your packet. I'm going to highlight a couple things, starting with our SWOT. So, some strengths that the Rolla area has. We're centrally located between St. Louis and Branson, and we're also located on Route 66. Those are huge things. We do get a lot of traffic, especially Route 66 travelers. Route 66 is alive and well, and people are traveling it, and they're getting lost. Missouri is not the best state to mark Route 66 travel, so we help people along their way. But also having the university, Missouri S&T here, is definitely a strength that brings a lot of attention to our community, our arts, culture, and history, the variety of festivals and events, and of course, our grant program that we have is definitely a strength because it could entice somebody to have their event with us versus another town because they are getting those grant dollars. Weaknesses, this one's kind of funny, traffic congestion. Yeah, I mean, locals Yeah, we might yell, but if you're from a big city, there's no traffic congestion. We do have limited public transportation and limited convention and meeting space, and that is definitely a weakness for us. Unfortunately, we have lost some events because of that. Opportunities, social media marketing opens the doors to endless possibilities. Amateur sporting events. Rolla has, I think that was in the report here, 300 acres of parks. Yeah, parkland and 50,000 square feet gymnasium space and meeting rooms available. So we can have a lot of amateur sporting events, but we also, you gotta think outside the box for amateur sporting events. We hosted a water polo tournament here in Rolla. And then, of course, with the Saddle Club, there's all kinds of those types of events. So it's not just baseball, basketball, those types of things. Our university and Fort Leonard Wood relations, and then community brand awareness as an opportunity. So educating our community on selling the community. How many times have you been somewhere else and you asked your waitress, hey, what's there to do around here? But that takes me over to threats, because that can be a threat too, because if we are not doing a good job of educating the community on what Rolla has to offer, they're going to send them down the road, because there is nothing to do here, but we know better. There's all kinds of things to do in the Rolla area. So another threat is regional growth and expansion and the Airbnbs that we talked about. So moving on, target markets. So something to keep in mind is with tourism, we are selling a town. We are selling Rolla. And it's different. I'm not selling an ink pen, and I'm going to just market my ink pens to people that like to write. We're marketing Rolla to literally anybody that is traveling I-44 that might be enticed to stop. So we have a wide variety of target markets. We're going after visiting friends and relatives. So of course we see that a lot, mostly with S&T and Fort Leonard Wood. A lot of visitors to the area. Corporate and business travelers, we've all been on those business trips. You're there for a meeting, but there's a really cool festival happening, so I'm going to stay an extra day. Tour groups, we've always gone after tour groups, and we do get a lot of tour groups. Now, we're not going to be a destination like St. Louis, Kansas City, or Branson, but we are a good stop in between on your travels. If you are looking for something really unique, Rolla has a lot of unique things that tour operators do like. The Experimental Mine is a little favorite of theirs, so they might add us to their trip. Day trippers. So there's a lot of communities around us that come into Rolla for the day, for our festivals and for shopping and dining, but also bank travel. So all of the banks that you belong to, they have travel clubs and they go on excursions. Well, other towns have those too, and they're coming to Rolla. And we do actually get quite a few of those. And then also Route 66 enthusiasts, I already said, we're right along Route 66. We get a lot of traffic of people traveling Route 66. They want to know what Rolla has to offer on Route 66, what are some attractions we can go see, and then sporting events. Kind of hit on that a little bit. Brings a lot of people to town, and Rolla can accommodate them. So our marketing strategy, we have a lot of tools that we're going to use to market Rolla in 2020. Our website for one. So all tourism entities are listed on visitrolla.com. And with the new website, there will be very detailed listing. We try our best to keep all of that up to date. So that's all done in-house. We update our own website. We also provide event listings for festivals and anything happening within Phelps County. We are working with Madden Media for search engine marketing. We started that towards the end of 2019. We're going to continue that for 2020. So we are doing keyword purchases in Google to drive traffic to visitrolla.com. And I will add that to my reports so you'll get to see that those results. Social media, of course, very inexpensive way of pushing your message out to a target audience. So we have Facebook and we have Instagram, and we'll continue to grow those. We're going to work on different ways to interact with our followers and subscribers. to increase our engagement. We always promote our upcoming events and try to engage with people. And then, of course, the hashtag RomoProud. We're going to be using that, and then we'll be tracking that. So if you post anything, if you're at a Rolla festival or an event or a really cool business in Rolla, post it with hashtag RomoProud. Then we are also our brochures. So I know digital is really important, and we focus a lot on digital, but people do still like to have a tangible item in their hand to look through. So we will continue our Rolla Phelps County maps and our Rolla visitors guides. We do have a beautiful Rolla visitors guide. We actually update it twice a year because things are constantly changing in the community. So we like to keep that as accurate as possible. Stop by and pick one up if you haven't seen one. Also, our billboards, we have the 2 along I-44. We plan to keep those, and we will rewrap those in a couple of years. Print advertising, we do have a really good relationship with Missouri Life and Show Me Missouri magazine. However, we've advertised in other print publications as well. One thing I didn't mention verbally was for fourth quarter, we do advertise in outside of the area newspapers to drive traffic here during Christmas time for the citywide Christmas open houses, to get outsiders to shop Rolla. So we do stuff like that. But one of the cool things with print advertising is, like I said, we have a really great relationship with these magazines. And we get featured in publications all the time that we don't pay for. I report to you the ones that we pay for, but Rolla's featured in a lot of magazines. Some of them will reach out to us and they'll say, hey, their theme for this month is, or this article that we're writing is about unique restaurants, along Route 66 or something like that. And so if we have something that attracts them, we'll put them in contact with the business owner or the festival organizer, and Rolla has been featured in a lot of publications at no cost to any of us, so that's always a good thing. Continuing to grow our photo and video library, so we have a lot of local photos and we use those whenever possible, but we want to continue to grow that inventory. So when you see our posts and you're sharing our posts, you're sharing actual pictures of Rolla instead of stock images. We want to tell our own story. So radio campaign, of course, we do have a generic ad that plays on Results Radio that is talks about how it's all here in Rolla and driving traffic to visitrolla.com. We will be continuing that and growing that because we're going to also promote festivals and tourism related types of businesses and such too, not just the generic ad, but then also growing over to doing some more over at Fort Leonard Wood through KFLW as well, to reach those military families also. So kind of growing a little bit of our radio campaign. And then FAM tours. FAM tours are familiarization tours. We do have an ongoing campaign called Be Our Guest. And once or twice a year, we will send out invitations to tour group operators and invite them to come to Rolla on our expense. You can stay in a Rolla hotel. We'll take you out to dinner. We'll give you a tour of an attraction or tickets to go see a show that is happening in Rolla, and encourage you to maybe bring your group to Rolla. Now, we haven't had anybody take us up on a free trip, but it has definitely generated an awareness, and people are contacting our office and they are interested in bringing their groups here. They just didn't want to come for the free trip. So as long as it generates their group coming here, that's what really matters. Moving into some of our our marketing goals, we want to strengthen our relationships with our Rolla lodging properties. They're very important to us, obviously, but we need to keep those communications open so we know what's happening in the world of hotels in Rolla. Amy has already met one-on-one with at least 3 lodging properties for 2020, and we do have a meeting that's coming up in March, and we're going to go over a lot of things that are happening so they are on the same page as well. We're also going to expand our marketing efforts in Fort Leonard Wood to heighten the awareness of attractions and events and businesses in Rolla, and that's through the Facebook page, the radio, and any other means. We do have our Phelps for the Fort committee that keeps us engaged with what's happening over there as well. Of course, welcome packets have always been super popular, so anytime there is a group coming to town, we do provide welcome packets for your event. So if you need any information from us, please, we're happy to provide that. We are always try with those packets. We want to increase traffic to dining, shopping, and entertainment venues. Updating vs.Rolla.com, which we've already talked about, to make it more, increase its functionality and give it a more modern look. Also partnering with our local attractions for our Be Our Guest campaign that we just talked about. Enhance our electronic marketing by utilizing our event ads on vs.Rolla.com. If you go to vs.Rolla.com, those are the 3 ads across the top. They're the most recent big events that are happening. Increasing those, and then growing our social media posts, Facebook advertising, our text alerts. Work with our sports organizations to bring more sporting events here, but also helping with the planning process. That's something that our office does that people may not be aware of. If you're not interested in the grant, that is totally fine, but you can sit down with us and say, we have a group that is coming to town. We will help you with, if you need hotel rooms, getting some competitive rates, or just getting that host hotel for your group. If you need restaurants or entertainment for the evening, our ambassadors have also welcomed groups to the area that are passing through, like the Irish and the Route 66 groups and stuff like that. So we can help with all of that stuff. So it is important, if you are planning an event, talk to us and we'll help you with it, whether you want grant dollars or not. Enhancing our radio advertising, which we talked about, for tourism related events. So you're going to see a lot of what we are already doing. We're just going to grow on what works and weed out what does not. So I am sure that 2020 is going to be a very successful year.
Let me give a shout out to the dog park. Our
Yes.
dog park for visitors who drive through Rolla, having that knowledge. I've seen people that were just so thrilled that there was a dog park.
You're exactly right. Actually, we have very recently, too, had a lot of people. We had a family come in that was looking for a dog park, and we're like, oh, well, you're at the right spot because it's just across the street. Now let me show you how to get there. But we also had a phone call just the other day of somebody that was asking about it, and we're like, yeah.
It's such a fun place to go to.
Yes,
It is.
definitely.
And also Audubon and Bray.
Yes.
I mean, those are marketable things. They're free, and they can get people outside, and they can roam around
Thank you for
out.
bringing that up, because those are very popular requests at the visitor center, especially during nice weather months. A lot of
exactly.
people come in and they're looking for trails that they can go on. So we do send a lot of traffic to those trails as well. Not really a great time right now because it's really
No.
cold outside, but definitely during the nice weather months, we get a lot of requests for trails.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for standing up here and going over all of this. And this marketing plan
Wonderful.
looks really great. The 5 different radio stations you're targeting, if you're looking to kind of get day trippers, tour groups, where are those stations located?
Well, the ones that were specific on that were for Results Radio does have 5, but we should elaborate on that because there's more stations that we could utilize. Results Radio, KZNN, KTTR, KXMO, and I think we do more on Hot 104.9 and then Jack FM.
Where are those?
They're with Results Radio. Results Radio is a local radio station. However, don't let that fool you because their reach is way advanced.
Okay.
But they're off of Soest Road.
Okay.
They've been in the community for, I know, more than 50 years. Kent? Since 1947. Okay, all right. So, great thing right here in our backyard. So they're really great to work with, too. We have a great relationship with Results Radio. So they do help promote a lot of our ads, too, because it is for the betterment of the community. So great to work with. But, of course, you also have Sunny Radio and KFLW that are all right here, too. KFLW is at Fort Leonard Wood, St. Robert, but a lot of the families at Fort Leonard Wood do listen to that station, too.
No, and I can see. And then one final question. Because I noticed when you were talking about sort of the print strategies and how the ad buys and like Show Me Missouri, Missouri Life kind of ended up resulting in some earned media, right?
Yeah.
Where we get these connections. So when you say there's a lot of publications you're doing this with, is it like Feast Magazine
Yes.
or?
We have advertised in Feast.
some
We've
other
advertised in, I'm sorry? Yeah, 417, and then also the Intercounty Magazine. I'm having a blank on that name.
Okay.
Rural Missouri. We've advertised in there. Other publications that have reached out to us, we've advertised in Sports Destination Marketing Magazine for sporting events specifically. So a lot of magazines that maybe we haven't heard of specifically here, but have a specific audience that we might want to engage with.
And then is there anything else that you're adding in to kind of do more, get more earned media and more coverage in terms of how you're trying to promote, say, like the St. Pat's Beer Run or St. Pat's as a Rolla event or?
Well, I think that the main thing that we're pushing for in 2020 is education.
Okay.
I think it's extremely important for our own community to also promote what is happening in Rolla. Whether it is something that we are hosting, like St. Pat's 5K, or Celebration of Nations, all of the wonderful events that happen in Rolla, our own theaters that we have. I think educating the local community to also promote that. How many times have we liked a business post or an organization's post, or we say we're going to that event on Facebook, but have you shared it? Have you talked to other people about it too? So we're going to continue to strengthen our print publication, but we're also spread out to social media. We can get more for our money in social media as well. Not that I want to let print go. But I also don't want to add 20 billboards either. I feel like our 2 billboards work just as sufficiently. But engaging the community and asking the community to help us promote. That was a great example. I stole it from someone else of the asking your waitress, hey, what is there to do? And they send you somewhere else. Absolutely not. If you are a local business owner, a hotelier especially, because all of your guests are going to come to the front desk and say, hey, we got a couple hours to kill. Where's a good restaurant? Is there any entertainment happening tonight? Really get your employees educated on what is happening in the community so they can answer those questions. And that's something that we will be working on too. Let the locals spread the word.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Other questions? David?
I have a couple questions. As you mentioned, the city of Rolla is in charge of awarding the contract for the taxes collected on hotel stays to a nonprofit who is in charge of promoting the image of our city to tourists and attracting them to come to Rolla. I wanted to ask about one of the chamber marketing branding efforts that you didn't mention tonight. I know it's not tourism specific, but it is part of what the chamber does. So I was wondering if you could address and talk a little bit about the Chamber Chicks branding used as part of the Rolla Chamber of Commerce. What's the background? Is it something you are still using? And if so, how does this branding help Rolla City's or the Chamber's image?
Well, that's why I didn't bring it up tonight, because Chamber Chicks is a program through the chamber side of the Rolla Chamber of Commerce, and our contract is for tourism efforts.
Totally.
And so, of course, I just didn't want to take up your time with chamber stuff. We're talking tourism tonight, so that's why I didn't bring it up.
Right, I understand. The only reason I bring it up is because as the folks here that are awarding a contract to a nonprofit that uses this, I guess my concern, I'll just kind of lay it out there a little bit, is I did a quick internet search of the term chick. And some of the dictionary definitions I found were Cambridge Dictionary, a young woman. The word is considered offensive by many women. Dictionary.com. As a term used to refer to young women, chick is slightly dated, sometimes perceived as insulting because of the perception that it infantilizes women. Merriam-Webster, informal, sometimes offensive girl, woman. Urban Dictionary, chick, is not necessarily derogatory, however, many women find it offensive because of its flippant nature. So the way I see it ties in, I know it's a little bit separate from the tourism part, but seeing as the chamber is the contracted public face of our town, do you think there would be any issue if the visiting public and some of those visitors saw this online and thought it could be offensive?
Well, again, Chamber Chicks is a chamber function, and we are here to talk tourism. And if all the stuff I talked to you guys about tonight was all of our tourism efforts for fourth quarter in 2019, never once did I bring up Chamber Chicks because it's not a tourism effort. So I don't think a tourist would see Chamber Chicks because it's not in our publications. It's a chamber function. It is 100% separate from tourism.
Sure. Like I said, I know that it's online. There's a presence of it online. People that do search out Rolla come into contact with it. So that's why I say it may not be specifically part of your marketing toward tourism, but people who are tourists do sometimes run into it. And so it brings up a couple more questions for me, which are, for example, would there be any issue if you had a new hire, say a male employee or a woman that wasn't excited about being referred to as a chick join your team?
Well, my entire staff is here tonight, so you're welcome to ask them if any of them are offended by the term chamber chick, because I call myself a chamber chick. I'm not offended by the term. I call myself a chamber chick.
Sure.
If any of our staff is ever offended by it, by all means, they do not have to be referred to as a chamber chick. We have a delightful program on the chamber side. If you, as council, want to hear chamber information, it's called Chamber Chicks Do My Job. That is where it's most public, Chamber Chicks. And Chamber Chicks Do My Job is a wonderful way to promote traffic to the local business community. Our staff goes to work for our chamber member businesses, and we've done some amazing, fun things, let me tell you. We've made donuts at Donut King. We've made coffee. We've been baristas at the Coffee Mine when it used to be called the Coffee Mine. We have worked at the Experimental Mine. We've done things that people don't even know happen. We got to drill bolts in the top of cave inside the mine. That was pretty cool. We also changed oil at Valvoline. We rhino-lined pickup trucks at Extreme Accessories. And whenever we go to work for our chamber members, we always say, hey guys, we're gonna be at X business. Come and see us while we're there. Buy a donut, buy a coffee, let us change your oil. Fun things like that.
Totally
We
understand.
have a lot of fun with it.
Right.
And we also do have a governing body, which is our board of directors,
I understand.
that approves everything the Chamber of Commerce does. I do have my board president here. You
Sure.
can ask her. She's
Okay.
happy to talk about. Tanya, do you want
Do
to
you,
talk about
do you
chamber
also
things?
ever have do you consider hiring male employees? And if you did, how would they fit in with the chamber chicks?
Well, if they wanted to be a chamber chick, they're welcome to be a chamber chick. If they don't
What if
want
they
to,
found it offensive themselves?
they would not be a chamber chick. It would be Stevie and Greg.
That would be something we would revisit.
Okay,
That has
yeah.
been discussed with our board of directors, and
Sure.
we don't see an issue with it. There are high schools out there that their mascot, Pleasant High School, their mascot is the Chicks. They're the Roosters, so they call the girls' basketball team the Chicks.
Sure.
There's a lot of things out there. We don't see a problem with it. It has been discussed with our board of directors, and there's no issue with it.
Okay, I'll just mention one last thing, just for food for thought. Since we are now a majority-led council, do you think that the public would see it as odd if we called our body the Council Chicks? Could it make people think we are less serious or professional about what we were doing, or offend certain people in our body or the public? And all I
Well,
say
Dave,
is yes, sure.
okay. Do you call the council ladies the council chicks? No, it's a moot point. Let me tell you the story, okay? Let's step back 11 years ago, okay? Since you're really excited about Chamber Chicks.
I'm not actually excited about it. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay, cool. I'm going to tell you the story. Okay, so Chamber Chicks is not new to Rolla, Missouri. It's 11 years old. Chamber Chicks is not just for the Rolla Chamber of Commerce. So 11 or plus, maybe 12 years ago, a previous staff member and myself, we were attending a chamber conference that we go to every year. It was at Lake of the Ozarks. And the Joplin team comes walking in. And Ginger and her staff come walking in, and they've got these adorable shirts on. They're black. They have diamonds all over them, and it says Chamber Chicks. Carolyn Peplow was with me, and we were like, oh my Lord, that is so funny. And we're like, Chamber Chicks? And Ginger says, well, yes, we call ourselves the Chamber Chicks. It's just the girls on the staff. So when we go to functions, it's the Chamber Chicks. And we were like, oh, that's cute. I like that. never thought a thing of it. So again, Christmas comes around. Carolyn, out of her own dime, decided to award us with these cute sweatshirts that said Chamber Chicks on them. That's how Chamber Chicks was birthed. You can Google Chamber Chicks, and we actually belong to a forum on Facebook of chamber professionals. Other chambers across the nation refer to their ladies' team as the Chamber Chicks, if it's acceptable within their organization, and we happen to be one of those. So, of course, Chamber Chicks. So in the office, we start laughing and joking, and then people come in, and we're like, it's the Chamber Chicks, and it catches on. People call us the Chamber Chicks. We even, to mention your man point of men being Chamber Chicks, we do have men that have wanted to have a Chamber Chick shirt. They want to be Chamber Chicks. There is someone in town, as a joke, privately, we gave him a shirt that said Chamber Chicks on it because he wanted it to be a Chamber Chick.
He wears it proudly.
He wears it very proudly. And so it just became some hustle and bustle amongst our members calling us the Chamber Chicks. Our entire team is fine with it. Then we went to another conference and we heard Steve and Dan do my job. It was in another state. And Carolyn and I were at the conference, and I was like, we both looked at each other and said, Chamber Chicks do my job. And that's how Chamber Chicks do my job was born. We actually stole it from a different state, and it was our team going to work for our businesses. I am sorry if you find Chamber Chicks offensive. I am not calling you a Chamber Chick. If you want me to, I will. If you don't, I won't.
Sure.
Same with my whole team. I am not offended by it. I find it very catchy and amusing.
Right.
I like it. Our members like it.
Great.
And that's what matters.
Last comment I'd have is just I can understand how someone would choose that for a private business in the sense they'd like to put that out. But as a part of a branding for our town, even though it's not the tourism part, I'm just a little bit concerned that, for example, people who might be offended and see that or not maybe see it as slightly distasteful, even not like they're really offended or whatever, might see that on some of our websites and say, you know what, maybe it doesn't interest me to come to Rolla. That's all I'm saying.
Has someone brought this to you? They've been offended by it by seeing it on a website?
I've had people come to me and discuss the fact that Chamber Chicks seems like it's
Well, a majority, like how many would you say around?
maybe 5-6 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I invite you to have them please come to the chamber office or contact me as the president of the board of directors. We would be happy to sit down and talk to them. Normally when we share the story, people get a kick out of it and they love it as well. You have to have fun, especially when
Nobody's
you are...
denying you shouldn't have fun.
Exactly. When you're in tourism and you're trying to bring people here, you don't want to bump on a log. You want to have some fun with it, and that's what the chamber does. I will vouch, not just as the chamber president, we have one of the strongest chambers in the state of Missouri, and I'm very, very proud to be a part of that, so I don't really see an issue with Chamber Chicks.
Thank you for answering the questions.
Could you keep us updated if they actually show up and talk to you?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You bet.
And with everything chamber related or tourism related, the city council is always invited to participate in all of our functions. A couple of weeks ago, we did host a Chamber 101. I would invite you to attend a Chamber 101 session. We cover literally everything the chamber does and what we do for tourism as well. It's a very informative 2-hour-long session. We had 20 people in attendance at this last one. We will host another one in October. We have members of our Chamber of Commerce, members in the community that sit down with us one-on-one, that talk to us all the time about how can they use their chamber membership to grow their business. City Council is always invited to sit down and talk with us. You're welcome to talk to the Board of Directors at any time, especially if you have issues with me or anything that I implement at the Chamber of Commerce office. But get involved. Come to our functions. I did see some faces at our chamber celebration, our banquet that we hosted for the 100 years of the Chamber of Commerce. There was a lot of history in that room. There 100 years of history to be exact. And, the Chamber of Commerce has had fun for 100 years. And we're not going to stop today. We're going to continue to have fun. We are a very professional organization. We are the strongest we've ever been. Our membership is at an all-time high. We have a lot of supporters. We are ranked very high within the state of Missouri, #1 with one particular program. You should be very proud of your Chamber of Commerce, not offended.
Thank you. Hey, how many members do we have in the chamber?
We're at right around 520. We're at the end of our renewal period, so we will lose a couple. That is typical of this time of year. But I think last week I sent out, we joined 4 or 5 new businesses in 1 week. So it continues to grow. People are excited and want to be involved. Again, it's the highest it's ever been. I've worked at the chamber for 21 years. I have seen the growth of the membership. We had a little celebration when we broke 500 members. It's never happened. And then it did. And we've continued to grow. I will tell you too, and I'm sorry, did not mean for this to become a chamber show, but it did. Our banquet this past year, I can recall, we used to have it at Matt's Steakhouse many years, well, it's been all over the place. You know, later years, Matt's Steakhouse. We got too big for Matt's Steakhouse at a banquet, the annual banquet, hit 200. This past year, we were at 340 people in January at the chamber banquet. Our chamber luncheon is tomorrow. We have over 200 people coming to a chamber luncheon. That is something to be proud of. That means we are doing something right, and the businesses want to be involved. You should be proud to be partners with the Chamber of Commerce. We're a strong, thriving organization in the community, and we represent Rolla very, very well.
Carolyn?
Personally, I like the definition that you gave of a chick. And at 75, if anybody wants to call me a chick, bring it on.
Thank you, Carolyn.
There's no other questions. Stevie, great presentation.
Thank
and,
you.
And look, you've had a lot of your board and the ambassadors are here. That's such a show of support and confidence for the staff at the chamber.
Thank
And
you.
you ought to all be very, very proud of that.
Thank you. We're pretty excited. So.
Thank you.
Stevie, do you invite the city council to the chamber? I mean, is that something that they could come to the luncheon?
Of course. You guys are always welcome. You can subscribe to our weekly emails to get notified of everything. I do send a lot of communications through John, so he probably gets bombarded with a million emails. I know you do, especially for me, because I send a lot. But if you want them to come to you personally, I'd be happy to take any business cards with me. My email address is stevie@rollachamber.org. You are welcome to email me directly and say, add me to all of your communications lists, and I will do so, and you are always welcome and invited.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, folks, have some courtesy and sit through Rodney's presentation.
I promise I will not be as long. You're all good. It's all good.
Go ahead, Rodney.
All right. Thank you very much for having me tonight. So the Chamber is celebrating their 100th. This is our 75th year of operating the utility here in Rolla. It wasn't in my presentation, but give a little history. I think the city owned the electric and water utilities back in like the 1880s, 90s. It was sold off to Missouri General Utilities in around 1925, and it operated under MGU for about 20 years. And then 1945, it was purchased back from MGU, and it's been, operated as Army ever since. And so again, I think it's October 31st of this year is our actual 75th anniversary. So we'll be doing some things this year, trying to do some things to commemorate that. So real quickly, see if we can get my presentation up here for you. It's on there. All right, everyone see that okay? And again, I'm just going to do a real quick highlight of some of the things that's in the report. The report is online, available on our website for anyone that's on the viewing audience who wants to see it. And again, I'm just going to hit a couple of the highlights of that report. So quick financial recap for our first quarter. And again, I'm not going to go through all the details, but ending the first quarter a little bit down, which is expected. We did lower our revenue requirements this year is on the electric department, as you may recall. So we've lowered those down, raised our water revenues up a little bit, but the net effect is we're expected to see a decreased income, and that is what we're seeing. So we're down a little bit compared to the same quarter last year. Just quick highlights on some of the electrical things we're doing. On Bridge School Road, you might see our crews working out there toward from Tater Patch out toward the dog plant, our dog food plant. What we're doing there is setting new poles, going taller. We're putting static wire on that, trying to eliminate some outages, mainly from storms and in particular lightning on that stretch of line. So that's one of the big things we're doing. Also being able to get some more capacity from our substation on Bridge School Road out of the area. You can see the work, you mentioned at Fairfield Inn. I think all of our electrical equipment is in there now. We are expecting that could be energized from our standpoint, that they could energize the hotel anytime. Again, just want to kind of highlight that we got a lot of really good development projects going on in town and redevelopment projects going in town, places where they're taking existing spaces and refurbishing them in to other multi-tenant facilities. There's a lot of good things going on in town. And then you may have noticed out on East Meadow subdivision, which is property that Army sold a few months back out of Lions Club Drive and Highway O. We got some of the duplexes that were envisioned for there. I think we're starting to put electrical in. I haven't seen foundations yet, but I haven't been through there recently. So, moving on to some water things going on. We have finished installing the water main on Greenbrier Drive, which is on the east side of town. Our service line crew is not going to come in and start doing service lines. So hopefully in the next month or so, we'll be finishing up over there. Our main water crew is moving, as far as I know, they're moving to 11th Street between Rolla and Pine. There's a block of water main we want to replace there before the new apartment building gets hooked into that. It used to be the Giddy Goat, that got tore down. Now we got a new building there. We want to get a new water main set in place there. Once they finish that, then what I anticipated would be moving over back to Olive Street from 5th Street down to 72 and continuing the work we started last year. We kind of got done around the school area, so and stay out of their area when they went back into school after the summer, and we're going back there to finish that work. So that's where we're at with that, the main crew, and then our service line crew continues to do service line replacements around town. All right, just a few miscellaneous things. I'm going to throw all these up so we can just talk about them. I got to put my glasses on so I can read my notes. We did attend the Experts in the Classroom. That is a program the Rolla High School puts on every year. They bring in businesses and entities to talk about career paths and what we do in the community. We had 5 of our staff members go over to the school in January. And again, what we do is bring over a couple line trucks, a lot of our equipment, and anyone interested in careers in the utility industry, not just line work, but we have everything, professionals from accounting to customer service to finance. We have engineers. We have all kinds of trades that we employ, and so we talk a little bit about everything that we do. In particular, I think we focus on our outside field staff, but we try and talk about a little bit of everything. Next I've got, we talked about EV charging stations the last time I was here. Just give you a quick update on EV charging stations. I did a lot more research on kind of what is going on with existing charging stations, especially on the I-44 corridor. What I discovered was the transient car charging stations aren't being used. In one community, not at all. And so after we did some more research on that, looked at the program itself, we had a discussion at the board meeting, I believe back in December, and the board has stepped back away from those charging stations, at least us participating in them. That doesn't mean there won't be one in Rolla. It just means that right now the Board of Public Works was not interested in pursuing that. It just did not make financial sense for us in the long run.
Ronnie, can I just ask one question on that?
Yeah.
The ones that are not used is a poor example, but your decision to put one in or not, is it going to be based on a return on investment? It's going to cost us $100,000 and we're going to make $150,000?
Well, to some degree, yeah. Everything, almost everything.
You're going to make
we
a
do
business
has
decision.
It has to be a business decision.
Okay.
And even looking forward, if we were to apply for the grant, get a grant to fund a lot of that equipment, eventually that equipment's got to get replaced. And if you don't have a decent revenue stream to do that, It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, so that was the real foundation.
Right
of
answer,
the
it's a
decision.
business discussion.
Yeah, it was a business decision, and but that doesn't mean 5 years, 10 years, depending what's happening, that we won't say, hey, that makes sense today. One of the things we are going to focus on more, though, is there are EV cars in Rolla that get plugged in every day, and so I think we're going to be looking at techniques of how we can get those consumers that we have in our town already to plug in those and do their charging after hours, later at night, instead of charging in at 4:30 in the afternoon when they get home. Program their car to do that at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night to improve our load factor. And so those are the things I think we're going to look at, is what's going on in town rather than worry about the transient customers coming through town. Invenergy, I want to just hit real quickly. Invenergy is now the owner of the Grain Belt Express project. I'm going to talk about the Grain Belt here in a little bit. But on December 17th, Eastern District Court of Appeals upheld the Public Service Commission's approval of the project. Of course, now what we're seeing is that fight moving back to the legislative arena. So we have 3 bills working their way through the House and Senate side of the Missouri legislature. The House bill has already passed, moved over to the Senate, and I'm going to talk a little bit about one of those bills, or the bills, in a little bit. So we are following that closely. I have been to the Capitol a couple times already to testify in opposition to those bills. This is a project very much we would like to see happen that will benefit the Rolla community, and again, I'll touch on that here in a little bit. Did talk at one of the board meetings recently about the US EPA has done a pre-publication proposal. What that means is they're getting a new rule ready to come out on lead and copper. And it's specifically lead service lines, and they're concerned about having lead service lines. And so I am just kind of brought up the board up to speed a little bit with lead service lines in Rolla. We're not aware of any. If we are and we find one, we take it out and remove it immediately out of service. Every once in a while, like I said, we'll run into something. We've ran into a few on Pine Street over the years. I think 1 or 2 on Salem Avenue. But again, when we find them, we take them out. We don't like having those in service. What we're finding is usually if we see lead, it's usually more on the customer side of the meter, not on our side. But that's not to say, when our crew was working on Olive Street this summer, they dug up the old water main, and what they found was small little lead connectors that went from the water main to our copper lines. That's just how they did it back in the day. But again, when we find those things, we immediately take them out of service, and we moved everything over to a new plastic water main and PEX or plastic service line. So again, we're following that legislation, but we don't suspect that will have a big impact here in town. Our audit, we did just complete our annual financial audit. Same company that the city will be using, and I think you guys are going through the process now. But our auditor was in the office to our board meeting in December, gave us an unmodified opinion on our audit, which is basically means we have a clean audit. And then real quickly, it wasn't in the report, but I just want to mention it, on e-bills and bill outsourcing. So I don't know whether you realize it or not, but every month we are producing bills, printing them in our office, mailing them out of our office. We're mailing bills out, every few days we send bills out. We're working with our Paymentus third-party provider on our credit card processing, getting an e-bill put together so we can give an option to our customers. That frankly, we're hoping would have been long in the process. Paymentus had some problems getting that put together, so we're working with another vendor and Paymentus to get that done. We're hoping to have the e-bills ready to start coming out by early summer. And then the other thing we're looking at doing is using another third party to actually print and mail our bills and do actually all the outside, the hard work. We'll still get our reads, we'll still scrub our bills, look for errors, look for high consumption, low consumption, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll just send a print file off to a third-party processor. They'll print them, and then they can separate out to e-bills, regular bills, all that kind of stuff. They actually, the technology is pretty amazing. If they know someone uses online bill pay, they may not send envelopes with that. It makes things more efficient. So so that is in the works. But again, it'd probably be 3-4 months down the road before we have that up and running. So it'll be early summer. But I did want to give council an update on that. So so that's kind of the bulk of the report. summary. Normally, at this time, I would talk about reliability stats. I'm going to defer that to a later meeting. We're waiting for some stats from the investor-owned utilities that are comparable to our stats, so we can marry those together. So we'll probably in a few months, I'll bring that information back. But I did want to give you a little bit other information I shared with the board at one of the previous board meetings. I don't think I showed them this slide, but give you an idea of some of the just highlights of where we get power from and a few other things. So this is a chart of the renewables over the course of a year, what we get. And I just want to highlight the bottom or the brown area on the graph is energy we're receiving from landfill gas projects. So that is in Hartville, Missouri and Lamar, Missouri. We're capturing landfill gas or methane, running that through a couple engines and creating some power. You can see that's a pretty steady source of power. The next one up, green, and I apologize for small print for anyone seeing on this TV, but the green is our wind allocations that we're getting in currently. And again, you'll see that they moderate a little bit. More wind is available in the spring, and you get it when the wind blows. That's kind of how it works. So, so spring and into the winter months, we see more than in the summertime. The yellow portion is solar allocations. Those are from the 11 solar farms scattered around our power pool. And again, you'll notice that it's in the summertime is when that bandwidth gets the largest. That's when we're getting the most energy off our solar farms. And then finally, the top bar is our hydro projects. Some of our communities, when they joined our power pool, had hydropower allocations from the federal hydropower projects. Mainly, these are the ones through Southwest Power Administration. So that is a Table Rock, Beaver Lake, Norfolk, some of the Arkansas, and then you got Truman in Missouri. There's several projects in the area. So that's some of our hydro allocations reading. So again, just kind of interesting. That makes up about 10% of our resource pool, resource mix in our power pool. This is a slide I did share. Again, kind of, if you just kind of look at the left side, kind of give you the big picture. You can see the bulk of our power, about 75%, currently comes from coal. That's pretty typical for the Midwest market. About 15% is natural gas and 10% is renewables. But what we're doing or have planned here, and I think I've mentioned it many times over the last several years, is a fuel switch coming up. We have our power plants in Illinois we buy coal power from. That contract expires in 2021. That contract's going to go away, and what we're looking at is replacing that with a mixture of wind power and natural gas. The wind is some wind power we've already have purchased, I guess, or have an agreement in place to buy power out of a new wind farm that's being built in Kansas. The other part of that is the Grain Belt Express, or additional wind resource from Kansas delivered into the eastern part of our state. So a very important piece of our fuel switch is Grain Belt Express. And then in addition, we already have natural gas allocations out of the Pleasant Hill plant, sometimes called Dogwood. That's in place. So by doing that, you can see it. You'll see on the, it's the dark green. I can't put a mouse on it here. But in this dark piece of the pie here, that's the Dynegy Cost Plus contract. That's the one going away. That is 19% of our mix right now. So when that goes away and we replace that with natural gas, our coal allocation will go right from 75 down to about 55% of our power. Our natural gas will probably go up around the 25%, and our wind allocations probably up in that 20% range. And those are just approximates, but they give you an idea of how that fuel mix is going to change. The bigger part of that is what that does and what it helps us with our costs, which is our next slide. Again, these are just projections, and again, for anyone looking at this, it's kind of small print. It's just some additional information I shared with the board. What we're looking at is when we do that fuel switch, that will help drive our wholesale costs down. Okay. And so that's what we want to see, obviously. And again, you don't see too many utilities talk about their wholesale costs going down. They talk about going up. So we're, again, doing that fuel switch is a very important thing we want to have happen. And again, right now, we're looking at saving some costs long term with making those fuel switches. And again, you can kind of project out 3, 4, 5 years, 3, 4 years with some relative stability. Beyond that, it gets sketchier because you don't know what regulations will change, other things that happen in the market. So, but right now we have a very good trend going on for the next several years. But again, that's part of that is hinged with the Grain Belt Express. So again, that's a wind project we're committed into to buy wind out of western Kansas, bring it into the state over a DC power line. In the House, we had, like I mentioned previously, we had 3 bills were introduced, 1 in the House, 2 in the Senate. Justin Brown, our senator, has introduced SB 597 on the Senate side. So, but what these bills do is limit the use of eminent domain for this project, effectively killing the project. I just want to stress a couple of highlights here. The benefits of the Grain Belt Express to the state, and this is just Missouri, is $500 million in infrastructure investment, over $12 million estimated annual energy savings to the municipalities that are involved in this project, $7 million in annual property taxes up in the northern part of the state in those counties that would have a line, 1,500 construction jobs. They just announced, I believe last week, that they are proposing to include broadband capability on this transmission line project, providing broadband access to upwards of 1 million Missourians along that route within 50 miles of the route. And most key is there's no public funds being used for any of this construction. It is solely financed by the developer. So in our area, and again, I'd say I agree with Senator Brown on a lot of his issues, not on this one. Obviously, it's my job to be a proponent for Rolla and the Rolla community. So this is a very important project for Rolla, but more importantly, of that $12 million in annual energy savings, 1.75, or about $1.75 million in annual savings in Senator Brown's district alone. Then that includes Waynesville, St. James, and Rolla. So we would encourage you, if you like the idea of the project, these things entice you, we encourage you to contact Senator Brown's office and let him know you stand with us in opposition. A couple other, and again, these aren't all the bills we're following, but kind of give you an idea of some of the other things going on. There's actually one Senate bill and 3 House bills. We're calling it the co-op legislation. And that is really a growth issue for the co-ops. They are struggling with market share just like a lot of municipalities are. I think I mentioned before, we're seeing lower sales per meter electrically, lower sales per meter on the water side. I suspect the co-ops are in no different situation there. So again, as everyone's trying to get customers, one of the things I think the co-ops are looking at is how they can gather that share. And again, I'm not privy to what the reasons are behind, but I suspect it's a growth bill. So they're looking at making it easier to buy 3rd and 4th class municipal electric systems, no differently than I think you've seen some of the IOU water companies looking at trying to make it easier to buy 3rd and 4th class water systems. So we're seeing that. There's a host of annexation issues they're raising. And again, I won't get into all the details, but it involves if the city annexes property, who's going to ultimately serve those end customers. And then service to existing and new structures comes along with the annexation issue. So we're watching that legislation closely to see kind of where that tracks and if it grows legs.
Rodney, how hard is it the other way around for a 3rd or 4th class municipal system to buy a co-op, parts of a co-op?
It's a bigger uphill battle, I would say.
Okay, because my recollection, they've got 1940s era protections.
Yeah, right. Yeah, anytime you want to do those kinds of things, it gets complicated. So I think, and this doesn't mean that you can, anyone can just walk in and say, hey, I'm going to buy your system. It requires votes of the people and all kinds of other processes. We just want to make sure on the municipal side that those processes, are thorough enough and fully vetted so that the public in that community is making a wise decision. So again, I just want to highlight, and these are not all the bills. There's hundreds, if not 1,000 bills out there, but we do try, and these are just a few of the ones we're watching. A couple other, House Bill 1602 and SB 725, appointment to boards of a city. This is another couple bills. Actually, this is Representative Mayhew's and I think Senator Brown's bills. There's an issue in one of the communities in the area that they're having a hard time appointing, as it's been told to me, hard time appointing people to their boards. And so one of these bills looks at how, if you own property in the city, but maybe live outside the city, can they be qualified to be on the board? And so those raise all kinds of interesting questions. And but again, that's two bills we're following closely and working with. I know our legislative team is working with Representative Mayhew on putting some restrictions on these types of bills to make sure that the city and the taxpayers within the city don't lose their representation.
Rodney, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
You ought to be speaking to City Hall a little bit about this, so RMU and the City Hall are not speaking differently.
Yeah.
Because I've already talked to Mayhew about this.
And again, I'm not saying.
And I don't know what you're saying or not saying. All I'm just saying is Rolla shouldn't be speaking with two voices.
Right. And again, I'm not saying one thing or another. As far as MPUA, our utility alliance, they stayed neutral on this bill. And with that, I think that's all I was going to.
Any questions for Rodney? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we, is everybody staying? Okay, good. It's a short meeting thereafter. We have nothing under old business. Under new business, first item is an ordinance authorizing the application for some traffic grants. Chief?
Good evening. Every year, we apply for grants through MoDOT, overtime and for some equipment. This year, we'd like to apply for $20,000 worth of overtime grants and for $6,000 to be used to purchase radars. And this is the same amount we got last year, so we're hoping we'll get the same amount when we apply again this year, if you authorize us to apply for them.
Any questions for Chief? If not, first reading.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of City of Rolla, Missouri to execute on behalf of the City of Rolla, Missouri a certain agreement between the City of Rolla, Missouri and the Missouri Department of Transportation pertaining to grants.
There's a request from the City Hall to waive the rules and have a final reading. Would anybody consider making a motion?
Motion to suspend the
Second.
rules. Final reading.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Final reading.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of City of Rolla, Missouri to execute on behalf of the City of Rolla, Missouri a certain agreement between the City of Rolla, Missouri and the Missouri Department of Transportation pertaining to grants.
Move that the ordinance be approved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Roll call vote.
Allen.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Boland.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Mush.
Yes.
Eberly.
Yes.
Corral.
Yes.
Schott.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
8 ayes.
Next item is a resolution authorizing me to enter into an ag lease at the Rolla National Airport. John?
Yeah, we've been working on this for a long time, for 25 years or so. A gentleman named Russ Adams has been managing the ag lease at the airport and doing a fine job with that. We did not authorize a 5-year extension to his lease a few years ago because we wanted to get that project out on the market. We've been hearing from lots of prospective farmers, cattle grazers, interest in the property. So we did a solicitation, got 6 proposals. We were really pleased to see that. 5 of the 6 were considerably higher than what we'd been receiving in compensation, but we were really pleased to receive the high bid of a very qualified firm of $41,718 a year. That's up from about $15,000 a year, to Drs. John and Joe Barnhart out of Vienna, Missouri. They operate a very large cattle grazing operation. There are a couple of dentists in Vienna, very committed to the area, very familiar with the airport. Some of the things we did in this process, though, we really wanted to get some controls over the ag lease compared to what we'd been operating under for many years. So I'm just going to highlight a few things that we specified in the document that you have before you that we're going to ask for approval. And that one is that the city has a right to inspect at any time, which seemed to be implied, but that wasn't provided in the other agreement. And 6 months prior to the expiration, we can invite private parties on for purposes of bidding that project. We can remove any acreage from the project at $51 an acre, so some of this property is near our certified site. If we ever need to pull property out, we would compensate them at the same rate that they're paying. We do require an USDA soil assessment by June of 2020 and a renewal assessment every 4 years, so in 4.5 years, and then if we renew another 5 years, 4 years after the next assessment. So we were debating 3 years, 5 years on that, and felt very good at 4-year increments. They need to provide an annual progress report to the city by the end of the year that will outline their investments back in the property, fertilizer, lime, herbicide treatments, that kind of thing. Fields 24 and 25 are the biggest fields. It's about 220 acres right off of 63, very visible to the community. Often it was not getting cut early, and we are stipulating that it has to be cut twice a year by July 1 and November 1 each year. And we doubled the insurance aggregate limits that were in the original contract. So with all that, we are really pleased to have the Barnharts selected and submitted the ag lease for your consideration.
Any questions for John? If not, can we read the resolution? No.
A resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Rolla, Missouri to execute on behalf of the city of Rolla, Missouri, an agricultural lease between Drs. John and Joe Barhart, DBA JB Cattle Company LLC, and the city of Rolla, Missouri.
Motion to approve.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next item is an ordinance amending section 27107 of the code pertaining to parking. Darren?
In the fall of 2016, council changed a portion of the parking lot near the 6th and Elm intersection from 10-hour parking to by permit only. Due to demand, demand has since dropped, so we're recommending changing those spots back to 10-hour parking. We've attached a map depicting that, and the attached ordinance would make that change. Staff's recommending approval. Any questions? Yeah.
Can I ask a completely unrelated question, but one that every SMT student would love to know, or I'd love to know? The parking lot right 9th and 10th, that's permit only. How?
9th and 10th.
Or is it's sort of like south of 10th there, where the
Okay.
the little
Mhm.
house is, right?
Right,
That's
yeah.
city parking.
Mhm.
It's does anybody rent spots there?
It is completely rented.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many people's on the waiting list, but there's a waiting list for that parking lot.
Okay. Okay.
And Darren, our parking spots are $150 a semester.
Steve, do you remember how much? I don't remember how much they are. $220 a year.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Darren, I'm a little
Okay.
not quite clear on this.
All right.
So we had 10-hour parking by permit.
No.
Not by permit.
No, not by permit, just,
Okay, so it was 10-hour parking without a permit,
correct,
free.
yes.
And now we're changing it to a permit only.
So this, prior to 2016, you had, the upper part of that parking lot was by permit only. The lower part was 10-hour parking free. Due to demand, we changed it to all permit parking only. So you had to pay to park in that parking lot, every
Okay, I got it.
spot.
All right, this
So
is
now
where
we're
it's
suggesting to
confusing.
change it back.
Changing it back to.
10-hour parking for those spots. Be free parking for 10 hours.
Question I had just related to how you decided the 10-hour versus the numbered lots. I figure somebody that's parking there all the time, they may be someone that lives in the neighborhood or a business owner, et cetera. But does it make sense to have the 10-hour parking
Yes.
closer to downtown in the sense that if we're trying to attract, like I hear a lot of people complaining all the time about, hey, there's not enough parking for my clients and that kind of stuff. Does it make sense to have the 10-hour parking where like closer to what that would be 6th Street so that people could much easier access downtown? Because I figure that if people are coming and using this lot to get downtown, it's not a big deal, but people already complain about having come to this part of this lot. Would it make more sense to have those spots closer for accessing downtown?
That'd be a
This is an
council
idea, I
decision.
don't know.
Yeah, that'd be a council decision. We just have to renumber spots.
But this is how it was before
Prior to 2016,
2000.
yes.
Okay.
Darren, I'm slow tonight.
Yes.
This is still confusing me.
All right.
So in 2016, we went from 10-hour parking, which was free or what it cost?
It was free.
It was free.
For the spots that we have listed on here.
So then we went to parking by permit
Mhm.
for a fee.
Yes,
And now, according to this, the demand for the parking lot, for the parking permits decreased.
correct.
So why are we going back to 10 hours for free?
Those spots we don't have rented out right now. and we haven't had rented out for a while.
Okay.
So they're empty all the time, and nobody can
What if you cut
park
the
in them.
price $10, $20, $30? I mean, why are you swinging it all the way back to free?
That's be up to council. As of right now, the only spots I know we have are all, either you pay $220 for the year or free.
I only ask this
Mm-hmm.
because building and maintaining a parking lot is extremely expensive.
Very expensive.
And we always make this decision on the basis of a return on investment. So I'm a little bit hesitant.
No, I understand that. The reason I bring it up is just like, is there any truth to the fact that part of what we're doing here is helping some of the businesses? I mean, we have other lots that are not paid lots because we want to see people frequent the downtown. Is that right? Or
Depends on your outlook. Parking's been a contested issue for as long as I'm sitting. I think, but that's okay, I'm clear. Any other questions?
Do we have any idea why the demand for the permit parking has gone down?
I don't know for sure. My guess is the enrollment at S&T is down.
Okay.
This is what we were told.
Will there be signage put up so people know?
Yes.
All that?
And then would it be if, for instance, if S&T's enrollment stabilizes, moves up, there's more demand for these spots, would it then behoove us to will you want to come back again and sort of say, well, if we can sell it,
I mean,
sell it?
right. The last time it was, we were completely out of, paid parking spots, so does it make sense to make these paid parking spots?
Okay.
So, I mean, that would be a decision in the future.
Any other questions for Darren? You have 2 weeks to think about it. So first reading?
An ordinance repealing section 27-107 of the general ordinances of the city of Rolla, Missouri, known as the Code of the City of Rolla, Missouri, and enacting a new section 27-107 in lieu thereof relating to parking.
Last item tonight under new business is an ordinance reapproving the minor subdivision for Quick Trip.
All right. You may remember this one from just a few months ago. Just to remind you, they're at I-44 and High Point Industrial Drive. Quick Trip is interested in coming to Rolla, interested in buying a piece of property. They submitted a plat. This is what it looked like. They have also been working through some traffic studies with MoDOT. Come to find out that MoDOT would not let them have a driveway exactly where they wanted it to be, so they've requested to modify the plat just slightly so that the driveway will still be on their property where MoDOT will let them have it. So this is the new plat. You probably didn't see much difference. This is kind of a blow up. Basically, the line between the area that Quick Trip is buying and the area that the seller is retaining basically is moving down by about 25 feet along the frontage of the frontage road there. So just to summarize, the plat was reviewed and approved by City Council in 2019. However, it was not recorded. The plat has been revised. I showed you that revision. The revisions are minor, didn't impact any easements or anything like that. All requirements are still met. Did show this to the Planning and Zoning Commission at the meeting last week. They still recommend approval. And out of an abundance of caution, we brought forth a ordinance to reapprove this request. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Tom? If not, can we have the first reading?
An ordinance to approve the minor subdivision final plat of Quick Trip number 7067 subdivision 19-06.
We have a request to waive the rules and have a second reading. What is council's pleasure?
Motion to suspend the rules for the second reading.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve the minor subdivision final plat of Quick Trip number 7067 subdivision 19-06.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Roll call vote.
Corral.
yes.
Schott.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Henry. Boland.
Yes.
Mush.
Yes.
Eberly.
Yes.
9 ayes.
Moving on to claims and or fiscal transactions, we have one, which is a motion awarding a bid for some splash zone renovations.
Splashdown is in need of sandblasting and painting its pool walls and floor. This level of maintenance is recommended every 10 years, but has not been done at Splashdown. The staff has repainted the last 3 years, but the surface is peeling, and a more in-depth and comprehensive effort and finish are needed. Staff has been unable to verify any comparable work on large municipal pools in the St. Louis metro area for the low bidder. The two major pool contractors in their area have only worked with Bazan and All American. So staff recommends going with the next lowest bidder from Bazan. Bid includes sandblasting and painting of the leisure pool, lazy river, and slide pool, the painting of the water cannons, and pressure washing, cleaning, and painting of the mushroom water feature and SCS play unit. And it has a 2-year warranty on labor and materials.
Questions for Marcy? Is there a motion to award to bid to Barzan Painting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Marcy. Mayor and the city council comments. Any comments from city council?
I've been reading a bit about the census. Are we doing anything to inform public or work with public?
We are. We have a complete count committee that we're working with. Tom's heading that up, and we've been meeting every 3 weeks, I would say, over the last couple of months, and we'll do that up until probably early May or something like that. You'll be hearing a bit more about it. We've got flyers, posters. There's a mailer, actually. RMU included it in the RMU packet, so you should, on your bills, be seeing a notice on it. It's all about report where you put your head on April 1st. We really want to get our underrepresented communities. That's children, lower income households, seniors. Those are often underrepresented. We want to make sure that we get a voice out. Our S&T students, of course, and so we've got a team of 2 or 3 reps from S&T on our complete count committee as well. So you'll be hearing and seeing a bit more about that.
John, can you go a little more deeper into the point about where you put your head as opposed to, particularly for the students, and then be a little more specific as to why we want the census filled out?
Yeah, okay, so again, it's looking for that where you put your head on April 1, and it virtually covers everyone. Student, if you're going to be here for more than just weeks, if you've got any kind of permanent residency in the Rolla area for that night, so you're not reporting where your parents are residing, but where you're at here. That same thing applies. People in prisons are counted that way. Fort Wood has counts that way, all of that. The real value on the census, of course, is that it determines the representation in our governmental structure. So you might remember that Missouri lost a representative, one of our 9 on the U.S. House seats on the last census as a result of population decline. So we want to make sure that we have as fair representation as possible. We take that down to the state level. It affects even the districting at the state Senate and representatives. And even as we decide our 6 wards and balance those out, we want to make sure we've got fair representation in all 6 wards. The census is the data for doing that. But the census is also a way of funding things like a lot of the state federal programs, HUD funding assistance, TANF, reduced school lunch programs. All of those are based on census data gathered by this every 10-year process. For a while there, Missouri's Complete Count Committee was advocating that it's a value of about $1,300 per counted life from federal funds. But federal census said that's a very vague number and have asked Missouri not to use that reference. So we're actually going to try and avoid using a specific financial count or connection as to what it means in federal funding, but representation is critical. The one revenue source that we do enjoy and benefit from is the distribution of the state vehicle sales tax, and that is done based on Missouri population within the city of Rolla. And so our fair share of what we collect at gas stations is sent to the state, distributed based on population, so a fair count here really impacts those numbers as well. Tom, you want to add anything else to what you've heard or seen or done on the Complete Count Committee? Not like putting you on the spot.
I'll just say that the efforts are only starting to really ramp up, and you haven't seen much quite yet, but you'll be seeing and hearing a lot more from us over the next month and 2 months.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Citizen communication, is there anyone that, for the citizens that would like to speak to city council? Comments for the good of the order?
I have one.
Rachel?
Yeah, so, just because I'm involved at S&T, sometimes I hear about events that I think the whole community would enjoy. And one such event is coming up later this week. The Missouri Humanities Council, they're sort of responsible for funding a group of sort of initiatives. For instance, they have a digitization of like family records, so you can get your photos digitized, go to them. They also fund some kinds of programming, and there is a documentary that's coming and going to be shown at S&T on Thursday, the 20th at 6:30 p.m. in Butler Carlton room 125, which is kind of the big newer building there right on the edge of Pine. There's going to be an archaeologist from the Humanities Council who's going to come talk, as well as a spokesman from the Cherokee tribe, because the documentary is sort of about the history of the Trail of Tears through Missouri. And in fact, St. James was, and our area was on the Trail of Tears, the southern route. And there are actually plans to put in St. James in the future a site that gives the history of the trail. So that'll be a real cool thing later on, but this is a cool documentary, and I'm going to be there, so.
Can you state
hang
the
out.
date, can you state the date and time again?
Absolutely. That is Thursday, February 20th at 6:30 p.m. And it's in Butler Carlton Hall, room 125 on campus at Missouri S&T.
Thank you, sounds interesting. Any other comments for the good of the order? Carolyn?
Go ahead.
Wait, John.
Go ahead, Karen.
I just want to thank Stevie again for a really informative, I mean, I've been a member of Chamber of Commerce for years, but you don't know a lot until you really hear all the information she has, and she has a lot more. Anyway, thank you, I liked it, and Chamber Chicks too.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, I'd like to introduce an intern that we have with the City of Rolla. Claire Neal is with us. Claire is a senior psychology major, minors in art and biology.
Industrial organizational psychology.
Okay.
So I'm doing a master's program.
HSS?
She's been terrific, joined us about a month ago. She helped us on our completing a compensation study for the city of Carthage, working on the MML salary study now, is a big animal lover, volunteers at Tri-County. I'm going to pull her into some work on the animal shelter. So just thrilled to have Clara with us. She's, as all these S&T students are, they're super bright and terrific people. So welcome aboard.
She's also very fortunate, very fortunate, sorry, that you're being mentored by one of the best city administrators in the state of Missouri. So
there you go.
We can learn a lot from them. Any other comments? We have one item for closed session. Two, both dealing with real estate. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So
motion.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Eberly? Eberly?
Jody. Say yes.
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Bolin?
Yes.
Schneider?
Schneider.
Yes.
Mush? Yes. Jordan?
Yeah.
Prowl?
Yes.
Schott?
Yeah, I do too.
Get a donut or a cupcake?
Hey, this way.